Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lyrata Barrett for the Institute for Global Transformation, coming to you with Lesson 4 from the series of The Soul and Its Instrument. In the overall program of self-mastery training via ageless wisdom teachings. Today, we will be looking at a number of things that I'm going to highlight in a moment. Number one, we'll be dealing with three major classifications of soul consciousness: the spiritual soul, the human soul, and the animal soul. We will be defining them. We'll be talking about the dual nature of concrete mind. We'll be observing the mental process and the 4 stages of human development that are visible today. We are continuing, as we go through this, we're continuing with the lessons on the etheric body. Okay? And if you recall, we defined the etheric body as that aspect of substance or matter that underlies the mental, astral, and physical etheric planes within our being. The etheric body, or the etheric network, as it's called, is the vital energy body which interpenetrates all space form. It's everywhere, the etheric body. It relates and feeds and sustains the many lives within the one life. That's how full the space that we occupy is with the etheric body, the etheric network. The etheric body gives the persona its unity and coherence. And when the etheric body is spiritualized, when the inner work has been done within the consciousness, the persona, the soul as a unit, that etheric body is also called the light body. You may have heard that term before. It's the etheric body. This etheric body is the material or substantial aspect of the soul. There is no place where the etheric body is not. It is the vehicle of the 3 major classifications of consciousness of the soul. The etheric body is the material or substantial aspect of the soul itself. It is the vehicle of the 3 major classifications of consciousness of the soul. And those classifications are, number 1, the spiritual soul consciousness, that which is called the spiritual soul consciousness. The spiritual soul consciousness, or the spiritual soul, I like to call it the spiritual soul, is centered in the center of the head, in the area of the pineal gland. It is through the head center. The head center reaches down into and goes above. Everything, all of these centers overlap. It is a soul on its own plane. The spiritual soul is actually the soul on its own plane. It's the individualized entity that is not yet incarnate in form. So, you and I can have an incarnation as we are now in this particular lifetime. With our mental, astral, emotional body, our physical, etheric, our persona, our soul, above and free of the form, and that aspect of our soul that is called the spiritual soul consciousness, which does not touch down into the physical body until the persona indicates, and I've said this many times before in past classes, whether it be in this particular session, the soul and its instrument, but more so in creative thinking, which I did before this. It takes a level of evolution for the soul, the spiritual soul, that is above and free of the form of every individual to know when to touch down, when to begin to merge with that particular instrument. Okay? My instrument, in my case, my spiritual soul, because I've been involved spiritually now since my 28th year in this lifetime, going through lots of disciplines, studying a lot, disciplining a lot, I may have greater access to the spiritual soul. Not to say that it's 100% infused, I'm not saying that, or merged, but I might be in that area or process where I'm having greater access or being able to touch in with the spiritual soul more than a person who hasn't studied, hasn't disciplined themselves. And we'll be going through the categories of these people in a moment when we look at the 4 stages of human development that are being seen today. The spiritual soul waits for the persona to evolve, which is what I was just saying. It waits for them to evolve in order for them to be able to incarnate in the vehicle that they've created. Otherwise, the spiritual soul has other things to do. It does not necessarily stay focused on its vehicle. It might send some idea in the sense of maybe a conscious thought. Maybe we get an idea of something, a sense of something. It might send or sense we have a sense that maybe we shouldn't be doing something or that we should be doing something. It might send those kinds of tendrils through of information, but it will really not get too involved with the vehicle, the persona of the individual in and of itself, until there is a particular note or frequency that indicates to it that, aha, this, my vehicle, is prepared or preparing. It's reaching up to me. It's reaching out to me. That's when it begins to turn around and pay attention. Okay? So the spiritual soul maintains in unified focus its connection to the one life at all times. It's also known, the spiritual soul, as the superconsciousness, as superconscious. It's also known as being superhuman. These are all terms that mean basically the same thing. It is the impulse within us that is a catalyst for our spiritual growth. The essence of each lifetime is absorbed into the spiritual soul as wisdom. And is that essence that's absorbed lifetime after lifetime after lifetime that creates overall the wisdom that is actually downloaded into the individual at the time when soul infusion actually takes place or divine emergence takes place. So the essence of each lifetime is absorbed into the spiritual soul as wisdom, which will be necessary and utilized when it finally merges or incarnates with its persona. The spiritual soul relates man to God, to the divine. Next, we have the human soul. Spiritual soul, human soul. The human soul is focused in the heart center and related centers. That means it can also move into the throat chakra. It can move down into the solar plexus. It exists in the three planes of human endeavor: the mental, the astral, and the physical etheric. It's the aspect of the individual that has incarnated or been birthed into form, the human soul. It identifies with form. It thinks of itself as I. It functions within and through the brain as the persona, and through its experiences, it evolves with form into an identification with its spiritual soul over time. At the pinnacle of its growth, it then merges with the spiritual soul and becomes soul infused, which is the goal of humanity overall. It is extremely important, especially at this time, where the development of consciousness is priority. Thus, the references, let me go back over that again. I don't want to lose the connection. At the pinnacle of its growth, it then merges with the spiritual soul and becomes soul infused, and it incarnates into its vehicle. It incarnates again into its vehicle. Interesting. Thus the reference that one must be born again to be able to experience and see the kingdom of the divine. This new life in the form, once this incarnation, this soul infusion happens, this new life in the form becomes what's called the conscious soul incarnate. The conscious soul incarnate within the body of one's being, or incarnate collectively in the body of humanity, which is what so much of this activity and chaos that we're experiencing right now actually is about. It's about many things, as I've said before, dovetailing all into one. But one of the major things is that the planet is undergoing a major initiation, which automatically affects every kingdom. You may have heard me say before, we are presently midwifing the fifth kingdom, the kingdom of conscious souls. And when you have this scenario where the human soul finally disciplines itself and begins to embody a higher frequency such that the soul recognizes that its vehicle is ready for it, and soul infusion takes place, that creates, therein really you have what is called the kingdom of conscious souls, this new fifth kingdom, a bridge way between humanity at large, the human kingdom, and the hierarchy. That kingdom of masters, protectors, wise ones, guardians of the planet and humanity at large. The kingdom of conscious souls is bringing heaven to earth. The human soul, this human soul that we're talking about, relates man to humanity. And why is that? Because we are not here of and by ourselves. We are not islands. We are a group. Overseen by the oversoul of humanity in and of itself. The soul of each individual, the soul of every individual holds the oversoul, aspects of that oversoul. It is really one soul in a myriad of forms. And here we are down on this planet in a myriad of forms fighting each other like crazy. Yeah. So the human soul relates man to humanity. Yeah. Then the third one is the animal soul. We've gone from super or the spiritual soul, human soul, animal soul. This is the third and last one. So the animal soul is focused in the solar plexus. Human soul was focused around the heart. Spiritual soul is focused really above the head center. Anywhere between the pineal, and the pineal connects with it. So it's focused, the animal soul, solar plexus. It's related to the lower centers, meaning any of those centers that are at the solar plexus level or below. This is that aspect of the individualized entity that lies below the threshold of awareness, completely identified with form. It has no sense of spirituality. May have an inkling, but mostly not. Usually that comes much later on. It lives and moves instinctively. Keyword, instinctively, resulting in the lower animal nature expressions through the emotional and physical body or vehicles. These aspects must be absorbed and transmuted by the human, and lastly, by the spiritual soul. The animal soul relates man to the animal kingdom and its past. So we'll be breaking all of this down now as we go forward. Suffice it to say that these three centers make up the three major centers of contact with consciousness, and consciousness being defined as the interplay of frequency that is created between the positive pole spirit and negative pole matter. If you go back to creative thinking, the positive pole represents the energy of the divine, will, power, purpose, divine father. Negative matter represents negative meaning not bad. It's not bad. It's a polar thing, like a battery. Negative, receptive. Negative meaning receptive. So receptive matter, which represents mother, matter, creative intelligence, that which births things into being. So it is the divine Son. These three centers make up the three major centers of contact with consciousness, and consciousness means that which I just defined. Consciousness is the divine Son in the Trinity, birthed from the interplay of interaction between positive pole, negative pole. It creates a field of frequency or magnetic energy between the two that creates consciousness. And all of this is outlined in creative thinking in detail. It is also called consciousness, is also called love wisdom. So, let's go on from here. The spiritual soul, number one, is our contact with superhuman consciousness. In the head center, it's impressed on the brain via the etheric network. Again, we're working with the etheric network. That's what we're talking about. And it's impressed on the brain by the etheric network as inspiration. The human soul, its contact is with the heart center, with the group in both mental and astral consciousness of the human race. It's impressed on the brain via the etheric network as intuition. And the animal soul, it's the contact with subhuman consciousness, solar plexus area. It's impressed on the brain via the etheric network as instinct. And there's another center which has come to the fore, has been coming to the fore now for a long time. Especially here in the West. And that's the throat center. which puts humanity in contact with what we call the concrete plane of mind. The throat center is also called the concrete center, the concrete mind. Okay. Why? I'll tell you in a moment. So the concrete plane of mind through the throat center presents as both an opportunity and an obstacle to spiritual growth, spiritual unfoldment. It has a dual nature. It is that part of the race mind, human race mind, that has all concrete knowledge achieved by the race to date. This knowledge may be correct, but it can also be incorrect. It can be truth and it can be partial truth, or it can be distorted. It can be totally false. But we have in our collective aspect of humanity a group, a larger group of people than ever that have gone to university, colleges, gotten education. And education strengthens the concrete mind. We talk about things that have happened past, present, and things that will happen in the future. History. Our everyday life is built on the concrete mind. News anchors, media. It's ongoing all the time. It never ceases. And in this period of time, more so than ever, it is louder than we've ever heard. It's the timbre of it, the sound of it. You can't get away from it from morning to night until you could actually force yourself to disconnect. That's the concrete mind. Based on what it is we think we know. And now we're experiencing them making up stuff, blurring the lines so that everything is distortion. You cannot believe what one party is saying as opposed to what another party is saying. That which you've cleaved to, you realize has been false all along. And it starts at a very early age, really. And it's part of the evolutionary process when you think about it. Because we come into this world birthed through a familial parentage who inculcate us, and education as well, that inculcates us with standards. Ideally, in some cases, many cases not. Um, but we come into this world and we get to a point where at our 28th year, 30th year or so, we realize that everything that we have been told may not have been true. Some of us realize it earlier than others. When we see, don't let me go down this road, but it feels like I'm going down there. When we see our parents going to church and being so-called religious on Sunday, but every other day don't own up to that level of standard. We see hypocrisy. So when we see two lawyers jousting in court, that's the concrete mind. It's a very strong throat center. You can hear people who have very strong throat centers. So it has a dual nature. It can be truth or not truth, so or not so, distortions, false. Because concrete mind is composed of mental matter. It's all mental. Can have a great and mixed with a lot of emotional too. Okay, not all mental. It's mixed with emotion, tinged with emotion. Depending to what degree one can tell and hear. If you if you if you test this out maybe for the week, now the next 2 weeks until my next session, as you listen to the news or anything that you might listen to, close your eyes. If you hear somebody talking, close your eyes and listen to not only what's being said, but its frequency, the quality. What are they driving home? How are they driving it? That'll tell you a lot about how much emotional stuff is slopped into whatever it is you might be hearing. Okay. Um, so it's composed of mental and emotional matter and can have a grade or a level of density that it can clothe concrete mind. Okay. Now it has its benefits that can clothe an abstract idea or an abstraction, which is a concept or idea. That's the proper use of concrete mind. And we're never taught this, ever. And it takes time to really learn it. Concrete mind. Hmm. Many times one can take into meditation a particular idea or phrase, which is called a seed thought, or what else could it be? Uh, a color, a thing. Okay, apple. You want to get to understand what is the reality behind apple. What is the truth of apple? What is the essence of apple? Or the essence of violet, the plant or the color? Or the essence of elephant? One can take things like that into meditation. Focus on it. Sense the frequency of it. And this is advanced, guys, what I'm telling you. Follow that frequency in your meditation as far as you can go, and never steer off of that frequency, even when you can no longer feel it or hear it or sense it. You know it's there, and you stay with it. That is a method whereby one can draw in information that many times has not yet reached Earth. And you will sense it because it has a weight to it. An energy in your energy shifts in your head shifts. It begins to have a weight. And as you feel it, you keep allowing it to come until you begin to feel it, sense that it's all there or it's stopping. And then you can go into that essence, that energy, and begin to try to form words around the energy. What does this pregnancy hold? What is this pregnant feeling that I'm feeling hold? What is it trying to tell me? Okay? Because there's a message that's returned. There's information there to be sourced. That's using concrete mind. In a way that we as humanity are designed to use it. To understand the depths of things that are around us, within us, about us, getting ready to happen. All these things, we have the ability to do this in our meditation with our concrete mind. And you begin to formulate a sentence or words. If you can get a sentence, that's good, around that which is returned. And when you are able to do this, you will be amazed at what it is you have just downloaded. And you have to write it down because you think you're going to remember what you won't. Okay? This is advanced class. I should not even be talking about it here, but we're talking about concrete mind, and it feels like it goes part and parcel. And it's something that it's like a carrot that can be dangled in front of you to understand why meditation is so important, why our disciplines are so important, that there's more to these centers that we have than we know, and how they're to be used. Okay? Okay. So large aspects of humanity have developed the concrete mind, and it has evolved extremely strongly within our Western world. It can be both a benefit and a curse. If a person is spiritually oriented, it allows those minds that are developed in that way to bring, as I just showed you, ideas into manifestation into the physical plane, many of which have not been landed here before. Okay? Now you get an understanding as to how scientists and thinkers of the past, philosophers, have come up with some of this information, okay, that they have, and brought this information to humanity. It's a way that we can bring dreams forth. It can bring things into manifestation. It's a way to allow veiled truths to be spoken. Okay? So, if we have a spiritual foundation, then concrete mind is useful. If we do not have a spiritual foundation, then we become crystallized. Hmm. We become stationed in this thought process that we think we know and believe. We think this is it. Whatever it is we've learned, this is it. Boom. Okay. Yet we see over time, uh, you know, I see those of us who, are in the gray hair stage, we see over time, as we mature, that which they said way back there, seemingly way back there, all of a sudden they've changed it up here. That no longer applies. Everything changes. Everything is evolving. Nothing is static. So how can we become crystallized in our thought forms about what we think is and is not? So without spiritual development or a spiritual base, it can create crystallization in thinking because only knowledge is contacted, because only knowledge is contacted, because only knowledge, people are stuck in knowledge, bottom line. Okay? Only that which has been given form by others is important. As a result, they lose connection with possibility. They lose connection with truth. They lose connection with what reality can be. Okay? The underlying form of reality. There's an underlying form to this reality that we're living that we aren't seeing. We may not even be sensing. We have no connection with only because we're stuck in the five senses and that which we have been taught. Limitation everywhere. Many of us are not even open to the fact or the realization that there can be other life forms within the entire universe, the cosmos. How could it be that we would be the only ones? Does that make sense? So observe your thought processes. Are they of the nature of being concrete ideas and thoughts? Or are they of the nature of being abstract? An abstraction, something that, you know, an idea, a concept that you can bring through and think about and deal with and hone in on and just turn it around and look at it from many different sides. We will work in the future to learn to be free of being dominated by concrete knowledge. Okay, it's coming up in later chapters. But in order for us to make sure that we are not too stuck, not too crystallized, step one, stay open. That's extremely important. Work to maintain an open mind and stay away from thinking that certain ideas are absolute truths. Okay? When we're there, our awareness is distorted. So now let's look at the stages of humanity that exist. That's the last bullet point of what it is we're dealing with in this session. Humanity today is in several different stages. And they have shifted from when this information was imparted. And I'll make mention of that as I go along. Number one. Number one is the stage of where many operate with animal consciousness. We talked about that, solar plexus and below centers. Instinctual, instinct, low levels of emotions. We'll talk about it now. The stage where many operate within the animal consciousness of the human race. Here, the solar plexus and lower centers are the main centers of operation. The brain is impressed and primarily by these lower centers, and emotional actions and reactions will be the primal way. It's the primary quality of the person or people. There's a strong instinct to self-preservation and propagation and feeding. Well, self-preservation, yeah. Heart and throat centers do not activate quickly, such that this group is more so of primarily emotional responses, and thought is not sharp. It's not sharp thought. It's not, yeah, it's kind of dull. Number two, the stage where people think, move, and have their awareness in human consciousness. This is where most people seem to hang out. This is where there is an awareness of the emotional relationships to people and things. Humanity is not yet aware of what emotions are truly for. Okay? We are using the emotions for things that we shouldn't be using it on. The emotional body is the power factor of manifestation. Think about that. The emotional body is the power factor of manifestation. Emotion is used to make things happen, manifest things, bring things into being, not act and react, not vengeance, not anger. The emotional body has a higher purpose than what it's being used for collectively. So, this includes the solar plexus, sacral, and heart center. This means the solar plexus, sacral, and heart center is activated. Primarily more so, solar plexus, sacral. The heart center is also, yes, once we get to this level of human consciousness, the heart center is being activated. There is a beginning also of a throat center activation. Here it's important to realize that the emotional action and reaction activity is based on polar opposites. Good, bad, like, dislike, right, wrong, those kinds of things. With its constant emotional mood swings. Because there is, though, a heart center activity, there comes, at a point, a bridging within the etheric network of the solar plexus with the animal soul. And the heart center with its human soul, which over time creates an integration between the animal soul and the human soul, and they begin to function as one. When this happens, we acquire an astral body. Astral body, another way of saying emotional body, that is deepened and highly developed. It has depth, it has scope, it has range. It realizes that it can be used, on many different levels. And at some point in time, it awakens to the fact that it does not need to be used on levels that it has been proliferating and reacting to over long periods of time. That's what happens when that integration begins to take place. Number 3, the stage where one shifts from human to spiritual consciousness. And this is, as I said before, I said where the level of human consciousness is where most people hang out. This is fast becoming number 1, where most people hang out. It's right now in the number 2 position, but fast becoming number 1. This includes mental and emotional types. Their values are undergoing constant change as they swing the pendulum from form side into their spiritual side. So they go from one side into the there's a yo-yo activity that goes on as we are working to move into spiritual consciousness steadfastly. Although we see the blueprint in Yeshua, pretty much, of one who walked the path with clarity and never turned back, knew which way they were supposed to go, didn't falter. So we see that it's possible, right? But we as humanity don't often take up that level of determination, that will power. We pick it up, we drop it. We say we're going to do this, we let it go. But it is possible. Know that it is possible to throttle through and achieve much more than we're capable of if we are so determined and willful. And will is a gift given to humanity by the divine to utilize. Willpower. Yes, the fact that we yo-yo back and forth, we have a tendency, we swing from one side to the other. All centers are activated, and when they say centers, that means all of our chakras are activated. Okay? The solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the ajna, 2 to 3 inches beyond the brain, or beyond the brow, center of the brow. They all come together in the human soul, in the heart, and the spiritual soul in the head center via the mental body. The astral body, in this case, undergoes a bit of discipline. It's undergoing discipline. And as a result, it's beginning to lose its control. Okay? Means that that person who's on this path to spiritual consciousness realizes that it has to let some things go. It can no longer be triggered. No more knee-jerk reactions. It is observing everything that is happening and how, and making a decision as to what its reactions and actions, or actions and reactions, if any, should be. The head center is also awakened, active, and transmitting energies of the spiritual soul into the vehicle. The mental body is that midway point, it's between all of it. So there's been a transference from the astral body, which from youth to about, I would say, sometimes depends on the person and their level of evolution, but from youth to about 28 years of age, 30 some years of age, it's usually the astral body that's in control. Okay? And if we were really being taught from a spiritual standpoint rather than a religious one, ooh, I don't like stepping on toes when I say things like that, and I don't mean to step on toes when I say things like that. Hmm. But if we were really being taught from a spiritual level, there would be an understanding that as we grow from childhood into adulthood, there are stages of development. The first 7 years, it's a physical recapitulation that goes on. From 7 to 14, it's an emotional recapitulation. From 14 to, what is it? 21? Yeah. 14 to 21. It's a mental recapitulation. From 21 to 28, and sometimes even farther, longer. It's more of a spiritual recapitulation that's going on. Okay? If education could grasp this esoteric wisdom, what we would produce within humanity would be astounding, absolutely astounding. We had the right teachers. But that's another topic. Yes, so there is a major shift that's going on. The mental body is the midway point. Aspirants hang out here. This is where aspirants and seekers hang out. Via the ajna center, more so aspirants and probationers. Thus, they're becoming more intuitive, more keen to inspiration, and they're preparing themselves for service to the human race, which is what consciousness is for, because consciousness is group focused. The soul, consciousness, is group focused. It's not about the individual, it's about the group, the collective. Okay. Once this stage is completed, the mental body and astral bodies are integrated through the etheric network. The mental body and the astral bodies are integrated through the etheric network and its chakra systems. Everything is online. All bridging is then completed, and the human soul, human rather, and animal soul are absorbed into that spiritual soul above and free of the form. And number four, fourth stage and last stage, the stage wherein the functioning within the spiritual consciousness of the soul is constant, which is the goal of humanity, each and every one of us. This is becoming more active as a group because we are midwifing the fifth kingdom, as I said a little bit earlier. There are more and more of us who are entering that kingdom of conscious souls. When this occurs, all seven chakras will have awakened and be actively in harmony. Polarization, which took place in the lower bodies, polarization will be shifted to the causal body on the Buddhic plane. But there's different planes. Okay, physical plane, which has 7 planes within it. The astral plane, that also has 7 breakdown the planes within it. The mental plane also has 7 planes within it. And then the Buddhic plane, okay, which is it's the plane where forms and archetypes, archetypal patterns are formed and generated on the Buddhic plane. It is the home plane of the soul, the Buddhic plane. So when we're talking about the spiritual soul, really, we are on that plane of the Buddhic, the Buddhic plane, okay? It's the home plane of the soul itself, okay? The Buddhic plane holds spirit, consciousness, and matter in correct proportions. From the perception of its creator in order to fulfill the divine plan. That creator's aspect of the divine plan. Keep in mind that the physical brain is impressed, our brain is impressed with the etheric network most from all of the centers, okay? The brain is impressed via the etheric network from its centers. So our chakra centers, each center impresses the brain in some form or fashion. To know where you are in the scheme of things, okay? Take time to observe yourself. Know where you need to go. Get a sense as to where you need to go. And this happens through meditation. What centers are developed? What centers need to be developed? Ask yourself those questions. And if you'd like to have homework in these next 2 weeks that you don't necessarily have to turn in to me, but maybe you want to keep it in your journal, write out your understanding of your own chakra center development. Where are you? What steps do you need to take to develop your soul growth? What disciplines have you enacted? Or what disciplines have you refrained from? Okay? What needs to be, what do you need to do to develop in the next steps forward? Okay? What's your next level of dimension in your development, and how do you get there? And number two, I would ask that you practice this meditation that we are going to go through right now. It's a very brief one. And you'll have it on audio and recording rather, and you can go over it again and again and again. It's called the observing the mental processes. So it's a way of taking you in to be able to see where you are and ask yourself these questions in a way, or get answers to these questions that I just asked. The goal of this meditation or this process will be to attain an open mind by observing our concrete mind, discovering those ideas on which our mind has become fixed and thus crystallized. The goal here is to simply discover what those ideas are. And this will prepare you for our next lesson, lesson 5, in a couple weeks. On the 21st, Sunday the 21st of September, which, is that the new moon? It might be the new moon. I'm not sure. So let's prepare for meditation, please. Feet flat on the floor. And meditation ideally is never done laying down. I know there are some that seem to do very well laying down, but there is something about the spine being perpendicular to the ground and the energies that move up and down the spine as a result of that posture. Okay. So let's prepare for meditation. Take a deep breath. And as you release it, relax the physical body. Ask your nervous system to assist you in relaxing your physical body, and know that it will obey. Take a second deep breath. And as you release it, calm the emotions. Quiet the emotions. See it as a still pool of water, reflecting the sun's light. Take another deep breath. And as you release it, focus the mind. Become poised and alert. And move your awareness into the ajna center, 2 to 3 inches beyond the brow. And in the ajna center, integrate the threefold persona, the physical body, the emotions, and the mind, into a single unit in aspiration to the overshadowing spiritual soul. Do this with breath. Take 7 breaths. Take your time. We're not rushing. And as you are stationed in the ajna center, allow the ajna center to magnetically draw up any residual aspects of the physical body straight up your spine, into the mental body, and directly out horizontally through the brow to the ajna center, all magnetically drawn. Take another deep breath and feel the energy of the center you wish to draw up into the mental body being drawn while your awareness is anchored in the ajna center. This may take practice, but it will come. While in the ajna center, look upward toward the spiritual soul, which really is everywhere present, but have a sense of seeking to connect with love, through the energy of love, with your spiritual soul, while you are anchored in the ajna center. When you feel that connection, sound a silent Om. maintaining your focus in the ajna, and as well the upward alignment with the soul. Align outwardly to the concrete mind. Imagine the concrete mind within all of humanity, which includes you. So we're connecting from the ajna center with the awareness of the concrete. Well, we're connecting first and foremost with humanity, the etheric body of humanity. Not humanity in form, the etheric body of humanity. See it as an energy. Of which you are a part. Align outwardly with the concrete mind of humanity within that etheric body. And observe the ideas held in that mind as absolute. As unchangeable truths. As you identify those absolute truths, draw a line of light upward, directly to the overshadowing spiritual soul. And release those truths to the soul by audibly sounding the following seed thought. My concrete mind is liberated by the light, love, and power of the spiritual soul. In your personal meditations, you can hold this alignment from the mind with the soul at least 3 minutes. Slowly relax the attention and return to normal focus. Okay. I pray that this is something that you will be able to use and that you will use over the next 2 weeks. And you can still use the other meditation from 2 weeks ago as well. So, this ends our session today. I thank you so much for your time, your energy, your focus. I thank the Institute for Global Transformation for allowing me to present this body of information. And may it endear us, motivate us, and move us into the levels of focus and service humanity is desperately in need of. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Till next time, look forward to seeing you. Take care.